Okay, well, welcome to you all to the first event in this semester's Beyond Your Degree. So exciting, first one to start off. So I'd like to welcome Kate Isted, the Head of Operations for the Giraffe Marketing Group. So Kate and I are going to start off, but we would really welcome questions from you all. So please just enter your name in the chat bar along with your question, and then we can answer some questions as we go along. This session is for you, so please make the most of it. Kate is here, very willing to answer questions. It's your chance to learn and to ask from her. So I'm going to get started and ask Kate if she's happy to tell us a little bit about your current role, please, Kate.
Yeah, absolutely. So I work for Giraffe Social Media. We're a digital marketing agency and we specialize in all things social media. So we do a lot of managing social content as well as communities online and running paid advertising. We also offer some complementary services that kind of align with that. So influencer marketing, content writing, graphic design, photography, and all that kind of stuff. Me personally, I am the head of operations at Giraffe. So I have three big areas of responsibility. The first is that I manage the team. So I lead on all of our recruitment. I lead on day-to-day support for the team, as well as all the performance management. I'm also responsible for the service, so I set all of our standards and create and manage the infrastructure and processes around our existing service, and I develop new services. So anytime we want to offer or grow what we are able to offer our clients, that's my responsibility to lead on that. And then I'm also responsible for all of our public outreach. So I do a lot of networking, doing sessions just like this one, media opportunities, that kind of stuff.
That sounds fantastic. So what does an average day or week look like for you, Kate?
Yeah, my average day is, I'm not sure that there is really like an average.
No.
Every day is really, really different, which makes it really exciting and sometimes a little bit stressful. But I would say that the average day involves a lot of stakeholder management. So whether that's internal with our team or external with our clients and partners, I spend a fair amount of time each day helping the team solve problems. So whether that's creative problems, technical problems, or client management problems. So all of our team work really closely with a range of clients. So there's always kind of things that crop up. And then I also work towards improving the systems and processes that we already use and finding ways to grow services as well.
Okay, so busy.
Yeah, definitely.
Busy and varied.
There's not a lot of quiet days.
No. So can I ask you, Kate, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved in social media?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't really set out to get into social media or even into digital marketing, really. It sort of just kind of found me. My background, I once upon a time wanted to be a medical doctor, then I wanted to be a child psychologist. So I got a degree. My first degree was in biological psychology. Then I sort of spent some time traveling and doing volunteer work and wanted to get into humanitarian work. And then I did an MBA. And throughout all of it, the uniting, the sort of thread throughout everything was that I was really passionate about telling stories. And ultimately, that's what social media does, is it empowers people to tell their stories. So while I didn't set out to get there, I got some really valuable advice when I was doing my MBA from one of the alumni. And because I said, looking back at my career history, lots of people kind of say, lots of recruiters would even say, like, well, what are you doing? You're all over the map here. And she said, just find the single thread that goes through. And for me, that was storytelling. And that's how I ended up here.
That's really useful information. Now, I just want to pick up on something you said earlier about problem solving, and obviously that's a big part of your career and what you do on a daily basis. So what tips would you give to the students to develop skills like problem solving skills? What can they do in their life as a student that will help to underpin those skills for their future?
Whew, that's a big question, Rosemary. Um, I think anything you can do to develop your critical thinking skills, whether that be setting yourself problems and trying to solve them, just sort of thought exercises, whether that is engaging in discussion with people that you disagree with. I find I really love social media in that it exposes me. We all know the algorithm is designed to kind of expose you to the things that it already knows that you enjoy and that resonate with you. But I find often use social media as a way to find people that I disagree with, and I like to go in with a completely open mind and say to myself, what if this person is right? And what that kind of allows me to do is to see things from lots of different angles, and ultimately that's what improves your problem solving skills is being able to see lots of different avenues, because there's not necessarily one single solution to every problem.
I think that's some really good tips there for the students. So tell us a little bit more about social media analytics and how it fits into your organisation and how it's used.
Yeah, so people tend to think that social media is really easy, that all it is creating a bunch of posts and putting them out there, and you hope for the best, you hope that you get a bunch of likes and lots of engagement. But when you work for an agency, you kind of need to have the data to back that up. So our team are really busy on a constant basis, not only designing what is well branded and aligns with whatever our clients' strategic objectives are, but they also look at the data to see, did this post perform well? Did it perform well compared to others? What are the key success factors of all the posts that performed versus what are the common features of those that didn't perform well, so that we can then make sure that constantly we're improving. So whether that be from a level of, I've kind of focused on talking about posts because that's kind of what most people kind of understand. But when it comes to all of our paid advertising, we're constantly looking at all of the metrics, the reach, the results, the cost per result, all the metrics that we have accessible to us, so that we can understand what's working and what's not working, and make sure that we're getting the absolute best value for money for our clients and really achieving their objectives.
Right. And what sort of clients do you have? Obviously, I don't want you to divulge names, etc. But what type of organisations? Is it charitable organisations? Is it not-for-profit? Is it? Well, tell me more.
Yeah, that's a that's a very good question. We work with some really exciting clients. We have worked in the past with some big clients like Air France, Cluse, 118. We work with clients from all different industries. So at the moment we've got some like luxury beauty product clients, as well as travel related clients, sort of lots of services, lots of products, lots of startup businesses, selling really unique concepts. We have worked with some charities in past, and we also are working with a number of organizations that are really focused on sustainability and improving the planet. So it's really, really diverse group of clients, which makes it quite exciting, actually.
It does, yeah. Well, we have a very diverse range of students online watching you today, and hopefully all going to be asking lots of questions. So please, students and staff, anybody watching, if you've got questions for Kate, please just type them into the chat bar and we can then start taking some questions and working our way through those as well. Because we've got such a wide range of students, and we've got undergraduate students, we've got postgraduate students on today, could you give them any sort of tips? We've talked a little bit about the problem solving and the critical thinking, but are there other particular skills and qualities that you would look for working in social media, but obviously because the session today is about analytics, about the social media analytics?
Yeah, so obviously, we've already touched on critical thinking, which is really, really important. One of the things I see all the time with new hires is that they often struggle with the ability to manage their time and workload effectively. So I think I sort of think it's very difficult working for an agency because there's so much going on, and we've got lots of different clients, all of which think they're the most important.
Yeah.
So you really have to be able to prioritize. So anything you can do to figure out real systems that work for you to help you prioritize completing tasks, that will be hugely beneficial to you. So some things that we do, we do quite a lot of training with our team, and we've one example of that is we've gone over Eisenhower's urgent important principle with them, which is a mechanism for defining your tasks into 4 different categories of prioritization. So that kind of tool, and finding out what works for you, because what works for me probably wouldn't work for everybody on our team, and likewise, you kind of
Yeah.
have your own systems. I think another thing I would say is that because working with an agency is quite stressful, can be quite stressful because it's quite busy and there's lots of different things going on. And I think just real life is quite unpredictable and stressful, and probably getting more so. I think taking care of your mental health is really important. So making sure that you're finding ways for yourself that all along, even in times when you're not stressed, that you're taking care of yourself, so that when you're in that situation, you've already got the ground is already laid for you to kind of help manage the stress.
Yeah. Is that something as an employer that you like to see on application forms, that you like to see how people are balancing their time and actually looking after themselves?
Yeah, definitely. For Giraffe social media, mental health is really, really important. So over a year ago, we worked with an organization called Time to Change, and put together a year-long action plan for supporting our team, and ultimately reducing the stigma that exists around mental health in the workplace. So we're on year 2 now. We've got a mental health team in place, but it's for us, it's all about having those conversations. And we often find in interviews we're really, really open about these sorts of things. And in interviews, we often have people disclose to us that they suffer from anxiety or depression, and it's been really, for me personally, it's been really, and I think for our business as well, it's been really nice to be able to have those conversations.
Yeah.
So I think anytime, people can be open and honest and demonstrate that that is a priority for them as well, I think that makes them a really good cultural fit for Giraffe.
Absolutely. And it's also a balance, isn't it? They're showing their work-life balance. They're actually showing their time management skills, that they can do all these things in one. Now, we have actually got a couple of questions
Yeah.
popped up. So we've got one from Liz. What is a typical social media project that a client asks you to sort out for them?
Yeah.
So could
Great.
you maybe take us through the life of a project? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, great question. So a lot of our clients, we work with them on an ongoing basis. So we actually we just manage their social media, like their social media presence on an ongoing basis. So it might not be sort of a specific project other than just ongoing. But we do work with, and especially this is true when we work with a lot of the bigger brands, they kind of bring us in for sort of shorter periods of time when they want us to manage a project. So usually that's around either launching their social media campaigns, or like launching their social media presence, especially for like a startup, or maybe launching a product. So we do like a lot of consultative work in that case, where we would talk to them about what their sort of overall plans are, and then we translate them into social media for them, so that we can launch that effectively on social media. So, for example, with a client that we've been working with recently, one of their campaign objectives was to grow their following on Instagram.
Yep.
Uh, to have that really be expedited, to increase the amount of engagement, because they are a product-based business that is looking to get into some of the bigger stores. So what they want is, in order to be able to go and pitch to those big stores, they need to be able to demonstrate that there's already an engaged audience that's ready to buy their product. So that's kind of that's just an example of some of the things we've
Right.
done.
And which is the most popular social media platform that you deal with at the moment? Is it still Facebook, or does it end up being Instagram, or where do we fall?
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting. you've kind of thrown me a little bit by saying popular, because people always ask kind of what's the best one, and really the answer to that is it depends on your objective,
Yep.
what you're trying to achieve, and also who you're trying to target. But in terms of most popular, I would say most of our clients come to us, and it's probably Instagram at the moment.
Right.
It will depend on the industry. You know, for some
Yeah.
industries, for very sort of professional business focus, it's going to be LinkedIn.
Mhm.
But lots of people really want to see success on Instagram. Yeah.
Thanks, Kate. So we've got another question. How has the pandemic affected your business?
Yeah, really good question, because obviously that's hugely impacted a lot of businesses. So as a team, we already worked remotely most of the time. We used to have 2 meetings per week that were in person in our office, and then usually about one full office day per month, where we did like lots of fun stuff in the office. But the rest of the time, we could work from home, we could work from a coffee shop, you could go into the office and work, but you didn't have to, aside from those 2 meetings. So we had a lot of flexibility as well. So in terms of how we work as a team, not a lot has changed really. We were all really well set up already to kind of work from home and work remotely. But because we work with clients from a range of different industries, who themselves have obviously been impacted in a range of different ways, we've had to be really, really agile. We've offered our clients a lot of flexibility, you know, to support them through the challenges they've gone through. So in some cases, that's meant we've changed their packages, what we deliver for them, or we've paused services. And in some cases, we've actually realized that there was a need to offer a brand new service that we hadn't even thought about offering before. So we've been like really, really flexible and agile. And I would say as a business, you know, we've navigated the pandemic fairly successfully. There's always going to be challenges, but so many bricks and mortar businesses have had to move online because of the realities of the world now. So more people are willing to take on an agency to help them with that transition.
Yeah. And I've got a question just carrying on from that one. How large is your team?
Yeah, there are, I think there's about 16 of us now, I think. 15,
Right.
16,
I know
something
you,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know you were saying it fluctuates a little bit. So I'm going to go to the next question, which is from Katie, which is Facebook and Instagram have algorithms on what people see. I keep seeing things on Instagram changing their algorithm and how you can reach a greater audience. Do you know how these work to reach more people? Hopefully I read that right, Katie.
I'm just going to read the question. Algorithm, how you can reach. Yeah. So it's a difficult question, because you're absolutely right, Katie, in that the algorithms do change on a regular basis. So what drives reach? The sort of ground is always shifting on that. But generally speaking, you know, if you are posting on Instagram and wanting to get as much reach as possible, I would say dive into your analytics as much as you can, to find out when your followers are active and be posting then. Ideally, you know, some of the things we do, although this sort of changes, because the sooner you post, the as soon as you post, the sooner you get engagement on that post, that will boost your rankings up in the algorithm. So if that means that you then go in and put your hashtags in the first comment, so right after your post, you're automatically giving it the first level of engagement. Although the sort of hashtag thing and where those go kind of shifts a little bit. But generally, whatever you can do to make sure that you're getting as much engagement as quickly as possible on your posts, that should help keep your reach. I think another thing to do is, if you've got a big following on Instagram, to make sure that you're going through, and there's online tools that you can use to evaluate the quality of your followers, but make sure that your followers are as genuine as possible, because I would imagine that the platforms are probably deranking accounts that have like a lot of bots and sort of fake profiles and stuff following them.
Thank you, Kate. So the next question is, do you hire staff from all around the UK or just specific areas?
So at the moment, obviously we're fully remote. So our team has sort of, depending on their life circumstance, had to kind of move around a little bit. Generally speaking, we hire from sort of Portsmouth and area, which Portsmouth is where our office is based. And the reason for that is because of our two in-person team meetings. Obviously, those are on hold at the moment. But as soon as we're safely allowed to go back into the office, we will be doing that. So as long as people are able to regularly commute in for those meetings, we would definitely consider them. For us, our team culture is so important. And although we've gotten really, really good at being able to continue to build team culture while remote, there is something that I'm sure you guys, as students, you're probably all really missing a lot of the face-to-face contact. So for us at the moment, the requirement would need to be that you could work or that you could come into our office for team meetings. But we are looking to expand, and eventually we're looking to have offices in other locations. So that is likely to change in the future at some point.
Thanks, Kate. So another question that's come in is, do you have any suggestions on how someone can gain experience within the social media world, within this field at the moment as an undergraduate? Is that courses that they should do, or how should they reach out to companies, etc.?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing that you should probably do is start using social media. So most of you are probably on social media in a personal capacity anyway, but start using it and start thinking like a business. So one of the things that we love to see when we are interviewing people and on their CVs is that they've actually started, even if it's just an Instagram account about something that you're interested in. We love to see, first of all, that demonstrates that you've kind of tried to use social media as a business, but also that you're really passionate about it. The amount of times that we've had people come to interviews and sort of say, I'm really passionate about social media, I really love it. And then we say, well, what have you done? And they haven't got any examples of what they've actually done on social media, aside from sort of checking their Facebook every day. It's quite common. So it wouldn't take much to decide something that you're passionate about, whether that's like knitting or finding rocks on the beach or whatever. Honestly, it can be anything. Find something that you're passionate about and create a social media account around that. And start using that like a business. Start testing and trialing things, looking into that, to the analytics, looking into the data and saying what works. So these are some classic examples that you can use. So you might come and apply to work for an agency and not have any professional experience, but you've demonstrated that you've gone and actually tried to learn those skills in a practical level. In terms of other things you can do, there's loads and loads of courses out there. Google does like their digital marketing garage. HubSpot does some training courses. Facebook has their blueprint. So if you're interested in learning about paid advertising, and paid advertising, although it is absolutely necessary for a business to be using paid advertising, we don't get a lot of candidates that actually have a lot of skills that come to us with a lot of skills in paid advertising. So even if it's just an example of you on your Instagram account boosting a post and seeing what data you get back and thinking about that, those are some really good examples for things you can do to make yourself stand out. And in terms of reaching out to companies, absolutely. We have one employee who she reached out to me. I can't remember, but she reached out to me like quite a while ago. With her CV, we weren't hiring at the time, and I just said to her, we're not hiring, but your CV looks great. Like, keep in touch. And I think probably about 6 months later, we actually ended up hiring her, and she's been with us for over a year now. So it doesn't hurt to reach out to people and to maintain those contacts for sure.
That's a big hint and a big tip. So after this session, I expect you all to be looking up giraffe marketing and having a look at Kate's contact details.
It's careers@giraffesocialmedia.co.uk.
There you are.
There you
So, Kate, somebody has posted here, what do 80% of working days look like for you? Can you split it down into sort of morning, midday, afternoon, or does it not work in quite that way?
So the question sort of depends on whether you're talking about my role specifically as head of operations or our social media managers' roles. Um, so I can kind of answer both quickly. So for me, 80% of my day is stakeholder management. So that's helping the team solve problems. Speaking to our clients, I speak to our clients quite, although I don't work directly with them because they all have their own social media manager that manages everything on their account, as well as maybe some assistants and graphic designers that all get involved in the account. I do speak to our clients quite a lot. Um, I do a lot of sort of strategic planning, so looking at our systems and saying like what's working, where are the pain points, what's causing people stress, how can I solve those problems. So it just kind of depends on what kind of comes up. I think when you work with a lot of different clients, there's a lot of stuff that just sort of randomly comes up that goes, oh, now that's my priority. So for me, it's very difficult to split my day in terms of I do this because I'm kind of all over the place. In terms of a social media manager. Our social media managers focus predominantly on client management as well as the paid advertising side of things and the overall strategic setting of the account. And then our social media assistants, they focus a lot on the creative side of things. So creating the advanced posting schedules for our clients to review and approve, uploading those, and then engaging in online community management with the audience of the client.
So for someone particularly interested in the social media analytics section, where would they fall into your hierarchy?
It's everybody's job. Analytics is really important at every level. So, when it comes to me making a change about the way we do things, the way we review our paid advertising campaigns on Facebook, if it's the advice we're giving our team in terms of, make sure you're looking at this metric. This is the one that's important. That it's always in every part of my job. We use the data to make the decisions, so that because the data drives. The data tells us what to do basically at every level of the business. So the social media managers do all the paid advertising. So a lot of times they'll kind of do that, but the social media assistants still look at the data in terms of the posts and how well they're performing.
Okay, so somebody coming in new into your company, would you give them training in the social media analytics section of it? Because that's something that they might not have come across too much. And what would that training involve?
Yeah, so everybody that starts in our business has an onboarding plan, an onboarding program, and our onboarding program is currently about 40 hours worth of training. So a big portion of that is in the analytics and the paid advertising side because it is the part that not a lot of people are coming in with experience. And it's also kind of the more complicated side of things. So, we do deep dives into all of the platforms to see, to learn about the mechanics behind how the platforms operate, what the different data points are, the important data points, how those change. So it's a lot of like hands-on training where we do a lot of screen sharing where you get to see what somebody else is doing and then they watch you. So usually how I like to sort of progress it is that, the people who are going through training will watch me do it and then I'll watch them do it and give them guidance and then they'll work with another member of the team. So kind of with ongoing training, we offer quite a lot of support and we're very supportive towards each other. So lots of training on the analytics for sure.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm sure this is a question that a lot of students have thought of, but if somebody wanted to come in at a sort of base level, or what level would they come in at as a graduate? And could you give them some sort of idea of what a starting salary might be reasonable to expect coming in?
Yeah. So it depends on we've got a number of different roles available. So our social media assistant roles, which are more focused on sort of the creative community management side of things, the social media manager, which is more the analytics and the and the client management side. We've got a like a sales team that develop new business. And we've got our senior team. So there's and then we've got our leadership team as well. So there's lots of different areas, and as we grow as a business, there'll be lots of little things that we offer more and more. So one of the things we're looking to grow is sort of our content creation team. So whether that's content creation in terms of written content or graphic content, that's something we're looking to grow in the next few years. So those will be some areas where kind of people can start in. And actually quite a lot of our team do start as a part-time social media assistant and grow very quickly into a social media manager role. And working at an agency is very fast paced, and it can be quite overwhelming. So actually starting in a part-time role where you kind of get your footing first is actually a really successful route to growing in an agency. And then in terms of salary, it really ranges. I don't have our like current figures on
just
that.
a ballpark.
I think it depends on, for an agency, it depends on the range of or where they are in their own journey. I would say, and it depends on full-time, part-time, I would say upwards of 20,000, but please don't quote me on that because I don't know.
That's fine, Kate. Thank you. There's another question come in, picking up on the use of a social and the speed of a social media agency. But what do you think are the benefits of using a social media agency versus an in-house team?
Yeah. This is a question that is very, very relevant because this is probably the number one reason that we lose clients. Often clients come to us when they're just starting up. And they know that social media is important, but they don't actually have the skills, the knowledge, or the time to do it. And then as they grow and learn, and we work with them and we kind of help them set their strategy, and they sort of learn from what they're doing, they often kind of grow in their own business where they think, what will bring somebody in-house. So obviously I work for an agency, so I'm always going to be a bit pro agency. So my bias is showing there a little bit. But I would say, the real benefit of an agency is that your social media manager works with a range of different clients, and all of our team works really closely together. So anything we learn from one client, we can apply to another client. So whether that be sort of we learn about a campaign mechanism or a setting in a paid advertising campaign that, really, really resonates and really performs really well, we can apply that knowledge across the board. So this is really relevant, particularly for paid advertising, because with paid advertising, it costs quite a lot of money to properly test what's successful, and to really get sufficient data for you to make those decisions. And for a small business, that can be very prohibitive. Whereas at an agency, you're going to benefit from all the spend that our other clients have, because everything we learn from them, we're going to apply to you, and everything we learn from you, it's going to go to them as well. So that's probably one of the biggest benefits of working with an agency. But obviously people sometimes want to work with an in-house person because if they want those like real, raw, unedited TikToks going out, rapid fire, that kind of stuff, that is much easier to be done when you're in-house, and somebody's just capturing it and it's going live.
Thank you, Kate. That's lovely. I'd just like to say thank you to Cara, one of my colleagues, and she's put up a couple of really useful tips in the chat bar for you. One about learning digital with Google and Digital Garage, and also about Luminate Prospects, which has some really useful, helpful salary information, depending on the region, industry, and role. So they're good places to look for that sort of information. So if we go back to another question, I think you've probably touched on this, but another question is, how did you get to where you are now in terms of studying and past jobs? Maybe you'd like to tell us which of your past jobs has been most helpful, or your past studying, in the role that you're doing now.
Yeah, I so um, just trying to think. I've had a lot of jobs in a range of industries, everything from retail to research and development to all sorts of things. So they've all kind of been beneficial. I think one of the biggest things was a number of years back, my sister and I started our own business doing doing like marketing consultancy, and it's something we wanted to work specifically with nonprofit organizations and help
Right.
support them. Um, and whilst the business has kind of been put on the back burner for a while, that really taught me a lot about the sort of stamina that it takes to work in social media,
Mm.
because people just there's a common misconception that I'm on Facebook all the time, it will be really easy, and working with clients is very difficult. At times it's also very, very rewarding, but it can be very stressful because you'll have lots of different clients ideally, or in some cases when you're first starting out, maybe none at all, or maybe one or two, and it can be very hard to sort of like balance your time. And when if you start your own business, and I'm sure many of you probably have little side hustles and things, you might know this, but when you run your own business, you're not only doing the job of working with your clients, you also have got the job of running the infrastructure of your business, and that requires it's sort of like two hats, and it
Yeah.
requires a lot of work and effort. And I think that was one of the things that taught me, you know, to balance out the ups and downs, but as well to really look at um, to really look at everything in a bit of a bigger picture, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kate. Um, give you a try and give you a chance to have a drink if you need one because you're doing all the talking. So
That's all right. There is a
um,
question here that I
I've
would
got
love to answer, though.
I've got a question here from Daisy
Okay.
on would a presence in social media activism or education on activism affect the likelihood that the person is employed? For example, someone who is vocal about the Black Lives Matter movement, which some companies view as too political. She hopes that makes sense.
Yeah. Perfect. Excellent question, Daisy. You know, uh, you're absolutely right. Is that some companies will view that as sort of too political, too much of a. I guess they assume that that might be a risk. I mean, for us at Giraffe, we really want our team to explore the things that are important to them, and we really support that. And we've got that actually built into our performance support system, where we work with our team to support them in their own goals and passions and whatever it is they're passionate about. So I think, in terms of, would we be discouraged from employing somebody who is really passionate about a cause they believe in, assuming that cause, was ethical. I, I think we would be excited to see that somebody had taken their passion and used social media to express themselves and grow a community and practice those skills. So yeah, it definitely wouldn't. We would not shy away from that for sure.
Thank you, Kate. And then we've got another question. How are you currently producing content, especially video and graphic content? Do you have someone in-house or do you outsource by using sites like Fiverr?
So it depends on, well, I guess this is a bit of a different question in terms of if you're talking about our content that we produce, because obviously we market for ourselves as well. Like Giraffe is one of our own client, we're our own client, so to speak. Um, in terms of where we get content with for our clients, we work really closely with the clients, and most of our clients do have other marketing channels that they use, so they will. They'll have their own stream of content that they're producing in terms of, ebooks, videos that they're creating, all that kind of stuff. so yeah, from a client side, the client often produces a lot of those resources for us. But we also have a graphic designer who does like a lot of sort of digital work, does videos, things like that. We've got a photographer on team who does a lot of product photography. So we can do a lot of stuff in-house. Everyone on our team knows how to do sort of like basic video editing. And those are definitely skills we're going to be looking to grow as much as possible. But we also work with partners. So if our clients want something that is, beyond the sort of scope of what our team sort of can comfortably and happily deliver to a quality that our clients expect from us, we've got partners that we've already vetted, that we work with really closely, that we would recommend them for those sorts of things. It's a good question, because creating content is more difficult when people's lives are somewhat a lot less interesting now. And in terms of our own internal marketing team, we have our own, there's a subgroup of us that work on the marketing team, and it's constantly shifting and changing who does what, so that we're constantly getting new, fresh ideas.
Thank you, Kate. Well, I've run out of questions at the moment coming up in the chat box, so if you've got any more, please add them. But I've got a couple more, Kate. You knew you weren't going to get away that easily.
Yeah, no.
Kate, as a tip for the students, what's the thing that they can do to impress you at interviews? What sort of things are you looking for in an interview situation? I know it's difficult to, but if you're taking somebody like a social media manager or a social media assistant, what sort of key skills are the ones that you're really looking for, and what can you train into people?
Yeah. I think passion, genuine passion for social media, for analytics, for marketing, for helping people, for business growth. Passion is something that you can't really train. A lot of the other skills we can definitely train, but somebody who comes in and is genuinely passionate about the work that we're doing and working for an agency, and to be honest, working specifically for us. So, if you're coming for an interview with us, be stalking our Instagram, learn about us, read our blogs, know us, because nothing impresses a business more than when somebody is a genuine fan of what they do. So that will definitely help you stand out. I've kind of mentioned it before, but have examples. Have examples of stuff you've actually done on social media, even if it is your rock collection from the beach. That is fine. It doesn't matter what it is, but demonstrate that it is something you want to do. I think it's pretty easy to say that you like social media and it's something you want to do, but show us that you want to do it and put it on your CV. The amount of CVs that I get that we receive, and that people have said, "Oh, I've got an Instagram account, and it's about this sport that I love, and I've managed to grow my followers to this huge, and I get loads of engagement, this percentage of engagement," and then they've not included the handle on there or the URL for me to even look at it.
Right.
It's something so simple, but if it's something that you're passionate about and you're proud of, show it off and have that
Absolutely.
be in your CV, in your cover letter.
Absolutely.
Those are the
Make it
sorts of
easy for you. You
yeah,
don't have to go looking for it.
I'm going to go and stalk you as well. So make it easy for me.
Yeah.
If you've done the work, then show it off for sure.
Yeah. Lovely. Thank you, Kate. So I've got an interesting question here. How do you think your job will evolve in the next few years?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah.
How am I? Okay, well, I mean, we at Giraffe were on we are on a major growth trajectory. So I'm anticipating that in the next number of years, our team will continue to grow, and hopefully be 2 times, 3 times as large. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see us expand offices in the UK, as well as into Europe and beyond. These are all things that are on kind of our roadmap anyway. So I think the key So I think in terms of our business, I think, you know, in the next number of years we are expecting quite a lot of growth. I would expect as well that the industry will probably continue to shift. You know, there's been a number of things that have happened sort of quite publicly in the media with Cambridge Analytica scandal and all this, you know, the election interference, shall we
Yeah.
say. So the way the platforms change really obviously impacts our business. So I imagine in the future there will be like a whole different landscape. I imagine in 5 years there'll be a social media platform that we can't even imagine right now.
I was going to say, have you heard of any more new platforms coming into existence, or
There
do you
have
think it'll be a while before more appear?
No, they're constantly appearing, and often we don't necessarily hear about them because the brains in, well, often they're developed in Silicon Valley, but they sort of test them in small markets, often in America, or like, you know, if they're coming from other countries, they'll be tested on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, you know, TikTok is China, I think. So you know, things are popping up all the time, and sometimes you hear, you know, we've our team is constantly trying to keep up with things, and people will, you know, will share with each other, have you heard of this one, do we think it's going to go anywhere? So it's really interesting to see the landscape change, and it will be really interesting to see if, you know, the big guys like LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, like, see how those kind of shift.
Right. Thank you. And I've got another question that's popped up is, how do you deal with difficult clients?
Well, that is a good question, Will. And if you've got some advice for us, let me know. Um, so the the first thing to do when you're dealing with somebody who's difficult is just listen. People are being difficult because usually because they have an expectation that hasn't been met. Um, so listening is really critical. Finding out from them, you know, what is the problem? What were you expecting? Like, where did we maybe disappoint you, or where, you know, where was the difference between what you were expecting and the reality that exists for you now. So listening is a really big part of it. Often people just want to be heard, and actually, if you just open up and genuinely listen to someone and make them feel heard, then they no longer become a difficult client. That's not always true, but it's a really good first step. So managing expectations is sort of the second step. So finding out, you know, once you found out like what their expectation was and the difference between what they actually received, then you can work to either manage those expectations. So for example, often our clients make the assumption that social media, because it's on the internet and the internet is so fast, that results will be fast. That, you know, they'll go on social media, they've got a great idea, they'll launch their social media sites, their channels, and like immediately overnight success. And so kind of because they're sort of their reference point for that is the internet and how things go viral on the internet. We need to make sure that they understand that the expectation on social media is no different than any other marketing channel that you might go through. So yeah, it's easy to see that when, you know, somebody like Coca-Cola puts something online and it does go viral. But Coca-Cola has also invested millions and millions and millions into traditional marketing methods, you know, for a history dating back forever. So yeah, I think managing expectations is really big. And then the sort of final thing I would say is figuring out communication styles. So understanding for your client how they like to be communicated with, whether that's via email, whether that's via by a phone, by a video call, whether they like to be the ones that sort of run the meetings, or whether they prefer you to be more proactive. It's all about assessing what their communication style is and how you need to adapt your style to work with them.
Thank you very much, Kate. Another one here. Are you on Clubhouse? And do you think audio content like podcasts or discussion rooms that are on Clubhouse are the future and the next big thing in social media?
I am not on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is currently an invite-only social network.
I'm
Our
not on it either.
one of our managing directors is on it. I think just recently got an invite. I think at the moment, my understanding is that it's a lot of celebrities, sort of famous people, kind of involved with it. And it's kind of going through that trial phase, and that's actually how a lot of new social networks are actually launching now, is that they're gaining like celebrity following and letting celebrities trial things and using that as their marketing mechanism. So yeah, not on Clubhouse, but our managing director is. Do you think audio content like podcasts or discussion rooms? Yeah, I think we've seen such a massive growth in podcasts over the last little while. And actually, I was just reading something. This is a bit. I was just reading something that Paris Hilton is launching something new called Pod Posts, and she's trying to blend podcasts with social media posts. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of evolves. But I definitely think we're going to progress towards more audio as people probably gain more screen fatigue from the fact that our lives are on screen much more than they used to be. So I definitely think it's where things are headed for sure.
And I presume then because people are on the move, they can take it with them on the move, which is easier than taking screens all the time.
Yeah.
Right, we have another question. Does it affect your company when there are scandals with social media platforms? For example, Facebook leaking people's data or threats of TikTok being banned in certain countries? Interesting question.
Yeah, I think probably on a macro level, it probably does. Of course, you know, if any time these sort of scandals impact a business's decision to market on social media, then obviously that's going to impact us as an agency or any other agency's business. And of course, when these scandals happen, the way the platform exists, or sort of the functionality of the platform, is changes. So in terms of recently with the election in the US, Facebook changed a lot. They changed a lot of their policies in terms of what could be advertised and what couldn't be advertised. And as a part of that, they also changed the automatic review systems that happen to catch people who are breaking policies. And like anything, anytime you've had like a new rollout of an update with your phone, you know, there's glitches, things like don't always work the way they are supposed to. So that definitely impacts our business when the platforms change how the platforms operate. Because sometimes that just means on like an easy level, it means we just have to relearn how to do it. On a more difficult level, when the platform actually doesn't work, obviously that impacts our business because it impacts our ability to advertise on behalf of our clients.
Thanks, Kate. Well, to everyone watching, we've got just a few more minutes left, so you've got your last opportunity to get a question in. But I'm going to ask Kate one last question. Kate, what do you know now that you'd wish you'd known at the start of your career?
You know, when you sent me this question in advance, and
and you were hoping I wasn't going to ask it.
It's funny because I asked quite a lot of people in my life and for their advice of what they thought, because I did struggle with this one. But I would say that when I was starting out in my career, I thought I knew everything. And I think as you get older, you come to realize more and more how much you don't actually know. Yep. And in fact, not knowing something is actually a sign that you've still got room to grow. Yep. So I wish that I'd spent less time trying to prove how intelligent and talented I was, and more time listening and learning from other people.
That's a fantastic tip for everybody. Has anybody got any last questions? Or are there anything that you think we've missed out, Kate, about working in social media analytics? Because I don't want to leave on that note. So have we missed anything at all? I think
I
we've
think,
covered a lot.
yeah, we've covered a lot, and you guys have had some really, really good questions. I think, working for an agency is a lot of fun. Working for Giraffe is it's an amazing place to work. We have an incredible team. Everybody's really, really supportive. Hopefully I can get a recording of this, Rosemary, but
I'm
I
sure
would
we
just
can. I'm sure we can talk to Cara about that and see what we can do. I went to ask you, in terms of working for Giraffe, do you do placements? You mentioned about part-time working. Is that something that maybe students could talk to you about?
Absolutely, yeah. We do take on a number of our full-time team now. We're students
Yeah.
who came and started with us part-time while they were still finishing their degrees, and then uh, we worked with them, and they grew into a full-time role once they graduated. So definitely, we are looking to expand the opportunities that we can offer at Giraffe. So in the future, I'd love to be able to offer internships. And really, the best thing about Giraffe is that we are open to ideas. So if you were to come to me and bring me like a crazy idea of something you wanted to do, whether that's you as an employee or you kind of pitching yourself to take on something where we would partner, bring it on.
Thanks, Kate. We've got one last question coming up. If you give an influencer product for social media actions, does it count as a paid partnership?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we didn't get more questions about influencer marketing,
Okay.
because that is the big sort of hot topic now. Yeah, if you yes, so in terms of there's sort of two issues, I guess here. One is the side of what the what the social networks consider as like a paid partnership, and the other is what like HMRC
Yeah.
would consider. Generally speaking, it's like any form of employment. If there's effectively a trade, and I'm not an employment lawyer, so I don't don't quote me on this, but effectively, if there is a trade of value for your services, so whether that is a financial compensation or a product, or say like a holiday or something like that, like a gift in kind, effectively, that would still be considered income, and should be declared as such. But the sort of there's a lot of gray area in terms of what is actually required for HMRC and things like that. But yeah, generally speaking, products for marketing services would be considered a paid partnership.
Right. Well, I think our time is just coming up. We're coming up to the end of the session. So on behalf of everybody at the University of Winchester, Kate, I'd really like to say thank you very much for your time and for helping us so much this morning. And I'm sure we'll be in contact with you, and hopefully some of the students will be in contact with you too. For all the students listening, please do look at Careers Connect for all the events coming up over the next 2 weeks. We've got a fantastic range of events. Do have a look there. So thank you again. And this is
Thank
the
you.
end of the first session. Thank
Great.
you again, Kate.
Great.